Welcome to the Intelligence Amplifiers, podcast that celebrates the people who make the intelligence a collective superpower. In every episode, we uncover the stories of learning and development leaders who amplify knowledge, break down silos, and empower teams to thrive. These are the enablers of insight, the ones turning expertise into action and shaping the future of work by ensuring that the right knowledge reaches the right people at the right time. So, if you're ready to explore how the intelligence is amplified and shared across organizations, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome to the latest episode of Intelligence Amplifiers. And today we have Einat Dahari from Appsflyer. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, it's good to be here. Good morning.
I know it's my we were just talking about that. I'm totally jet lagged. I was in Europe, so I guess it's my evening, or morning.
Good evening.
Well, great to have you here and welcome. And right now you are Director of Learning and Development at this hot startup that's growing and doing some really cool stuff. And we love that tech. I wanted to start with your early, like how you got into L&D. And I believe it had to do with nonprofit, right?
Yeah. So actually I've been working many years in the learning industry, but it was in like public sector and NGOs. So it was a very different experience than working in a high-tech company. And when I've did this transition 9 years ago, we didn't really have ChatGPT to guide us through all this change. So it was, I think, almost 9 years ago, it was very big shift in my career. It was kind of like a growth playground. And it was changing, operating systems from organizations where, they're lacking of resources and the pace is very slow. And then when you look at your, tool stack, you have 3 or 4 tools, you suddenly shift into a different sector to do, similar things to what I've done, but just in like a whole new playground, in a whole new ecosystem. And I think that was the really big shift in my career to make this step. And I have a lot of people asking me about it. And I know that many people are searching for these type of career opportunities. And I was very lucky to do that. And I was very lucky to have really good experiences with both of the workplaces that I've been work with up until now in this journey. But it was very, I think it was very, looking back, a smart career decision from my end to challenge myself, to step outside of my comfort zone. And to add on top of all of it, I've actually, my first high-tech position was not a classic learning role, which was my comfort zone. It was knowledge management. And I've started as an internal and external knowledge manager. And my very first week was migrating internal knowledge into a whole new platform, implementing a whole new platform, and the shock that you get when you do this transition. So I did like a really deep dive into this domain, and again, luckily it was a very fulfilling journey to kind of study a whole new domain, cross platforms, cross sectors. And it took me I think a year to understand what kind of value you bring from a different sector. And I think it brought a whole different perspective. Like, for example, when you move to high tech, the first thing you say, lots of resources, right? Like when you in a private sector or in an NGO, you would hear people saying, oh, if I had one more person on my team, or if I had, just a little bit more budget, I could solve that. And when I got to the high-tech industry, suddenly I had that, I had these resources. I had access to much more resources than I used to. And then I realized it blocked my creativity. So the lack of resources made me personally more creative. And I think it happens to many, many people. And I've learned to look at it from lens of, you don't overuse budget and you don't overuse the resource. You look at it in a very modest way. And I think that was something that was fresh, right? That's something that people were not used to it in that sector. So that was a big thing. So I think people bring a lot of the cross sector brings a whole new fresh perspective. So that was very unique.
I mean, I totally agree. That's always true. Like when you have when you take a page out of one playbook and merge it with another one, and they have babies, that's where the magic happens, right? So, and I totally agree with constraints. I remember I was at Twitter when we were arguing about 140 character limit, right?
Mhm.
And it's totally like made up limit. Like there's no reason for that, but a constraint of 140 characters was good because it forced people to think about how they're going to express themselves.
Yeah.
So I totally hear you. Constraints lead to creativity and all that. I'm curious, what led to that shift into like, I want to be in high tech world. I want to be in this space. Um, like you didn't
I
have to. Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely, I think I've reached to, I don't want to say the glass ceiling because I did have many opportunities, but getting into senior positions, and I felt the pace was too slow, and
Uh-huh.
I really enjoy challenges and complexity. That's my operating system. I really enjoy the rhythm of high tech. It's fast, it's growing. Don't even talk about yearly plan, right? It's like a quarterly based plan. Definitely, when you enter in both of the high tech companies that I've been working with, which was WalkMe and Appsflyer, I was like employee number 300 and something or 500 and something, and you really get in there in that startup mode of hyper growth and lots of disruptions. And I thrive in this type of environments. Like I really enjoyed it, and I missed that. Like I didn't really have that. I also felt that it was about time to challenge myself, in terms of my personal growth and upskilling. And I felt like the lack of technology and slow pace, and like it was very traditional and conservative type of work. And again, I've learned so much, and that's the foundation of everything that I do as a learning leader. Everything that I know about organizational development and learning solutions is, that's the baseline for it. But I feel like that past 9.5 years really brought me a whole new set of operating system. Like you said, like you put one operating system on top of the other, and you suddenly, I feel on a daily basis, I feel like I use all the tools that I've gained from every milestone during my career. And many people are really afraid to do that change. It can be scary, like new technologies, new languages. You don't know half of the conversation when you enter. I think you really need to be a fast learner, and you really need to like be dedicated to that process, and do the extra steps that it takes. So I was looking for that change, and today again, I'm not going back. I really feel like I'm in my current ecosystem. And another, I think, maybe brave decision was also not going to like a pure L&D or OD position. Like what do I know about implementing knowledge bases and, work with developers to build like an external KB to support customers. But I was very confident in the skills that I had. And again, I was lucky enough to work with managers that really believed that I can make that change, and had a very supportive system and like a good supporting team. And I think that was like a good combination, a little bit of everything. Like you need to believe in yourself, you need somebody else to believe in you. And then you also need to, deliver quick wins and work quick enough. And it's really funny. I think I was implementing Slack again, like 9.5 years ago. I was implementing Slack. I was managing the Slack. Today, like who doesn't use Slack, right? In high tech companies. And it was very innovative at that time to even implement that, and that taught me a lot about communication. So I feel like I came with like a very solid background of learning and organizational development, and then I've kind of like stepped into knowledge management. What does it mean internally? What does it mean externally? Add to it disruptive environment changes. You need to be really adaptive. You need to also understand, new roles and new proficiencies and roles that I didn't really have a chance to work with in the NGOs and the public sectors. So that was super interesting for me. And again, like I worked very hard to be able to deliver quick results. And also, like you try things. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you success. You get up, you continue with your journey, and you become better. And I'm not afraid, to make mistakes. And I think that's also important when you make this type of changes.
Got it. So here, courage, curiosity, just like going out there. And we'll get back, we'll get to this fluidity of knowledge management and learning in a bit. I'm super curious about that. So your one of your first jumps was WalkMe, right?
Yeah, that was.
Got it. And what did you pick up out of that? What was like the learning? Any big lessons or insights?
Yeah, I think that was my kind of like school for high tech. So all the jargon of this ecosystem, that's where I learned the most. And also, I think another thing that is very like you really feel it in public sectors and NGOs, you really feel the hierarchy. And many times in high tech sector, you have hierarchy, but you work in a very kind of like flat organization, right? And what you really stand out for is your ability to be innovative and to act fast and to come with like new ideas and to deliver results. And I think that was like one of the things that I've learned the most. I was like, okay, it like your rank doesn't matter. Like your job title really, it doesn't. I mean, it matter, but not like it was matter in that other sectors. And that was the first insight was, you work with everybody, you collaborate with everybody, and I really loved it. You work yourself bottom up, top down. You work in all the channels, and I think I really see myself as a kind of like a people connector. That's what I do. I was working in like a private company where we were teaching other people about managing relationship and interpersonal communication. And I really felt like that was kind of like a stepping into the world of high tech where communication not necessarily is people's first skill that you see there. So coming very people oriented with good communication skills into an environment where sometimes things lost in translation because you only write emails about it, or you text one another, to go and to close, like to go to meet people in person, or to talk with people in like a non-formal way, really helped me to thrive in this type of industry. And again, like I felt like people really appreciate that extra connection and extra communication. So that's where I think that was like the first main insight. And the second thing was, I think technology was a big thing. The
Okay.
technology, the tool stack, understanding the adoption really taught me about what adoption really means in this current sector. How you're implementing a whole new system, and you put a lot of expectations into this system, and you expect like there's going to be like a before and after the change. And then once you implement it, you understand that that's not enough, right?
Right.
Like people are excited by new platforms, but that's not going to solve your knowledge problem. That's not going to solve your learning experience, or that's not going to make people necessarily better. Like there's a lot others, many steps and phases that you need to go to get like really people to help people really change their behavior and adapt into that new reality. So I think those were the things that really I learned in like my first year.
Got it.
Um,
Got it. So I heard meritocracy, right? Like, so what matters is not the status, but like what you actually produce,
yeah.
and merits. And that's definitely Silicon Valley tech. So that totally makes sense. And WalkMe is definitely in that realm. Um, and so you got that, and then you went to Appsflyer. So what was that like? What was the exciting part about, like, I'm done with this, I'm going to the next thing?
So I think that was Appsflyer was kind of like back to bases with learning and organizational development, because again, that's my DNA is there, and that's what I've done most of my life. And I think after I've gained that experience, and I really appreciate that time, because knowledge is a form of learning. right? At the end of the day, when you provide as a learning leader, when you provide a solution, the person at the end, they don't really care, which team created what, right? Like the comm team communicated that, the knowledge team created this article or this manual, the product manager or product marketing manager created this deck that you now need to use, and the training team created, I don't know, like a self-learn training model or a workshop or even like a boot camp. They don't really differentiate like we do behind the scenes who created what in the process. They look at it as like one user journey, right? I have I'm a salesperson. I need to learn about a new product, or I'm a manager and there's like a whole process change that I need to now learn about. And I can think of so many examples, and we're probably going to get to AI soon, but I can think of so many examples of learning solutions that we've provided over the years. And the end user, at the end of the day, they just want to get, they want to get what they need to be successful in the role, and to be like, there's a whole time to proficiency aspect, like, right? We want to get them proficient as quickly as possible, but and again, like in a qualitative way. And I think that the shift between the knowledge focus and then go back to like learning and organizational development really connected. And that's where I've started looking at what I do as a professional as enablement. Like if I could change the ecosystem and give myself a whole new title, I would call myself enabler. Because sometimes you do knowledge, sometimes you do communication, sometimes you do learning, sometimes it's classic learning, sometimes it's not. There's like this world is, I prefer to look at it in a holistic way, because that's the right way to look at. So it's not just about, you don't deliver a workshop and problem is solved, right? We've worked so hard to create like an offsite or a training program or a course, and then you expect everything to be perfect and everybody suddenly know how to sell or how to support or whatever or how to develop whatever the role is. And I think this is where when you look at it as enablement, first of all, you ask yourself what kind of change is needed, what will make the most impact, how much time do I have, who's my audience, obviously all those questions. And then when I provide a solution and when I speak with my team, and when they provide a solution, it's always, don't just go to, it's a workshop. Don't just go to, oh, I'm bringing like an external vendor. Like, let's look internally at our champions, at our resources. Let's connect the enablement teams. Let's speak with like the knowledge team. Let's speak with the knowledge champions. Let's look at it in like as a whole journey of what is needed at what, at what time frame, the frequency. So I think that transition to Appsflyer, and I think, by the way, Appsflyer, again, like I was very lucky in both of the high tech roles that I did. Appsflyer is a company that really gives the learner a respectful place. We really believe like the culture of learning in many companies, and especially when it's like a startup and it's in a growth mode, said you would only see L&D or OD positions when you hit like the 300 plus people, sometimes the 500 plus people, and many times you would be like a one person. When I stepped into Appsflyer, I was employee 569, and I already stepped into an L&D OD team, which was very, like it tells you how much, how much resources and how's like how the company was investing. And I was entering towards like a really great mechanism of regional academies and like an extended onboarding. So again, for me as a learning leader, it was another incredible playground to kind of like experiment and really do innovative things. And I'm here, I'm at Appsflyer for 6 years now. And I really feel now with AI, I really feel that I keep experiment things. And because the company really gives me that opportunity, I'm actually able to be more innovative and to try things new. And by the way, AI education was something that we've started talking about like almost 2 years ago. right? Many companies only started talking about it 6 months ago. So today we're at a phase where we're in a much more mature phase to deeply dive into AI skills and AI frameworks for our learners. So I think that's where I kind of like I went back to my origin, and I was mature. I felt, I came in with like the enablement mindset, and I got like the best conditions to really be the best that I can. And obviously, lots of challenges, right? Disruptive environment, changes in the ecosystem and the ad marketing system. Privacy came in like 4.5 years ago. Like I remember iOS 14 entered as a learning leader. That was like a big, like a big things happening in the industry. So I feel like I had a better chances handle all those disruptions and challenges and complexities because I had really good conditions, and the leadership really believed in investing in learning. And that's, again, not everybody get to have that starting point in a company. Many times you're going to be, I have many colleagues and friends where, like they would be, saying, oh my God, I wish I had like two more people on my team, then we could get to this and this.
Yeah, it's a good question. Is L&D a cost center or strategic investment, right? And I think what we're seeing in tech world, it's very strategic. It's very they see it as like we're investing in our people. So and I think it's very tech industry specific that that sort of like mindset. Everywhere else, it's sort of like L&D is really compliance. We gotta cover our bases and all that.
Or onboarding, right? Like just
Yeah,
onboarding.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
bring something very interesting. Like I like what I got out of your talk is that there's this umbrella called enablement, and underneath that there's like L&D, but there's also knowledge management, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of like it's very holistic. Often we're not organized like that as departments. So do you have any internal challenges, like kind of like owning both knowledge and learning and development?
So, I mean, challenges, we have every time, especially in a world where things are changing all the time and skills are changing and frameworks are changed. I look at enable. I think it's knowledge, right? It's learning, it's organizational development, like whole talent management, career development of employees. It's HR, and it's communication. Like
Yeah.
I see 5 different things under this umbrella of enablement. And lately with AI, I also see the operational teams, because often in high tech companies, you do a lot of implementations of new processes and new platforms and new systems. And my day to day, I have a lot of meetings with business application people and IT people and operational people about what kind of capabilities they develop and how do we bring it to the people in the field. So this umbrella, I agree, like enablement and like learning and knowledge are big parts of it. And then when you connect it to HR and talent, and what happens to an employee from entry all the way to the end, you kind of like see all different stations. And again, like I feel like but my calendar really reflects that. Every task force that I would be participating or assemble, or my team will assemble, will always have this representation of the people that represent, like the HR and the talent team and the comm team. Like we really work very closely together. And by the way, we also have like enablement functions that grew up in the company in the past like 3 and 4 years, and I was really pushing towards that change, to have more, like more sales enablement teams, create a CS enablement team. I really see a lot of value in having those enablements that are domain specific, because then as L&D, we able to achieve much more working with these personas. So we kind of like enable the enablers. If it makes sense, like we do a lot of connecting the dots of, okay, let's work together on the same solution, and then
Yeah, so meta. And I remember like when I asked you one of the things you're proud of at Appsflyer, it was about enabling subject matter experts to stand up and share their knowledge, right? So like there's this old sort of mentality of like L&D kind of controls everything that's published through LMS in SCORM files or whatever. But then there's this other sort of like let thousand flowers bloom. Everyone who has something to share, enable them to share. And it seems like you're leaning more towards that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of many things, but I totally agree. I think we put a lot of efforts in providing these opportunities of knowledge sharing. Like if we would organize a program or a conference or anything that we would organize, we are, many times we would create this learn from the experts and share your knowledge and learn from like actual real case studies of people who have done it. And by the way, it's both learning from success and learning from failure. People tend to bring success stories. We also bring stories where it was more challenging and you didn't necessarily got to what you wanted at first, and it took you more time. And I think that's also an important thing to have that lesson learned from different aspects. But yeah, that's a big part of our learning. And we also do a lot of internal development, like a lot of programs where we would record the SMEs and the champions, or we would grow them. We have academies and programs and boot camps where many times the trainers would be internal employees, and that is a big part of our culture. And you need to nurture that. Like you need to keep you need to keep those platforms, like those opportunities, open for people. And the same happens with AI now, right? Because you have those early adapters that are much more advanced than many other people, and they start create those smart assistants and advanced custom GPTs, and they release it to the world. You also need to allow them to release it and share it with their teams and provide that governance where people feel comfortable to do that. And I think that's a big part of the culture, like the sharing.
So let's talk about AI. It's top of mind for everyone in learning and development. And I'm curious how you're thinking about that. And I'll share what I'm saying as well.
Yeah. Right. It's like the talk of the day, AI. I feel everybody share what they are experiencing with it. And I have a lot to say about it. The first thing is I feel like, again, we're very lucky that we've started talking about it at a very early stage. Okay. 2 years ago, we've already released, we've already done a lot of activities to raise awareness for it. And we've started kind of like, doing standalone workshops on skills. And we have like even a podcast that we've started recording with internal people talking about AI. So I felt like, the company is really AI first across the board. And that made us as an L&D team, which was very, very good. And we've already started talking about the skills level, okay? Because the first question that I'm hearing today when people are doing benchmark or when I'm benchmarking with other people is all around, so just tell me like what the people need. What do I need to teach them? Where do they need to go? Like what's point A and what's the end point of AI? And there's like a lot of FOMO, obviously, and a lot of noise. And today, like since we were in a very mature place, I think like 4 months ago, internally in my team, we've started working on a very extended model, 4-level model. We've done a lot of research. We've read kind of like what's the industry standard for skills. And after researching and investigating and putting a lot of effort, we've created a model for us. And that model, that framework, we are now using it to explain about the skills framework that the people need to go to. And it's very simple. It's like a 4-level framework. That you have like the level 1 is fundamental level. Level 2 is AI assisted, meaning that you understand use cases and where AI can really assist you at work. And you also know how to smartly use the tool stack that you have with like the AI capabilities. Okay. And we are saying everybody in the company need to be at least in level 2 in the advanced phase of level 2. And then we have 2 other levels. And I think that was like the big aha moment, at least for my team in the past like 2 months. Was level 3 and level 4. And level 3 and level 4 were the builders level. So level 3 was no code builder or low code builder. Like how much can you create with AI tools that don't require you to know any, single line of code, right? Because there's like so many advanced tools today that can allow you build assistants and even agents or automated workflows with like different automation platforms. And then the fourth level, the most advanced one, was the deep specialization builders. These are the people that really build those sophisticated solutions and the agents that potentially take a workflow and replace a significant part of it. And I think one of these aha moments is not everybody need to know how to build. Okay, not everybody need to know how to build agents. And today, if you would go to like the average person, everybody will tell you, "Oh, I need to know how to build agents." But that's not true. You need to know how to use agents, and that's a new skill that you need to gain. You need to know how to work with agents or with different tools, and how to leverage what you get from these tools to stay relevant and to really be more productive and efficient in your role. But you don't necessarily need to go on a course to build agents and sit down and, half of your work, half of your time invest in building agents. Somebody else can do that for you. And I think that's kind of like what we try to differentiate. Like, how do we bring everybody to the AI assisted level where you are, we can prove that you are more productive, you shorten the time that you perform on task, and you can do more. And then how we also identify that builders layer, the builders that are the early adopters of new platforms, the ones that are going to be, that person in your team where you go to and say, hey, I have this use case. What do you think? Like, if you think AI can help me, how will that look like? Is it automation or is it AI? Sometimes it's not even AI. Sometimes it's just like automation because people feel like AI can do everything for them. So I think this is where we really try to create that kind of like builders guild in the company to create those better solutions that everybody else can use. And I have to say, one big thing about AI, there's so many cliches, right? So many things people are saying about AI, like, yeah, you need, AI will replace you. And then if you will know AI, then you won't be replaced. There's like so many things people are saying out there. I think if you're a good learner, you definitely increase your chance to adapt to this new era. Because, and this is what we're seeing, if you're a good learner, if you're a self-learner, if you invest time in learning, you can really make sure that you stay relevant, because learning a new skill is hard. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of time to be proficient in something. So I think that's kind of like my 2 cents on, you just need to be a better learner, and you'll improve your chance to maybe secure your job in the future. I don't know, honestly.
Adaptability, learning, those are the key skills that you want in people, right?
Yeah, I want people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want people not to be afraid from gaining this new skill. And with, when we're looking in the levels, we are now trying to map how many people we have in every business unit in each level, and how do we bring them? How do we help them? Kind of like build those stairs for them, those steps to go up the levels. But we're also saying not everyone needs to be in the company in level 4. And that's an important thing to say. You can't expect everybody to fully transition themselves into building agents. That's not good. That's not scalable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's level. That's what levels are for, right? You just level up to whatever you need.
Exactly.
So Appsflyer, what are you excited about? Sounds like AI is one of them, but like
AI, yeah, I think AI is a big part of it. It's a big transition, and also it's a big transition that keeps changing. Even that model that we've just kind of like released in the company, even that model, a quarter from now with all the changes, we'll still have to kind of like keep track and optimize it as we go. So I'm very excited about that. And I think I'm super excited about continue looking on the holistic view of enablement, because there's like still many processes and many changes that require that type of view. And when the company is kind of like growing and is more mature, looking into processes and making brave decisions, I think this is where kind of like learning and organizational development are those enablers helping the organization reach to these new milestones. So I'm super excited for that. And, and again, like I'm excited for the company to kind of like reach new heights, which obviously will happen soon. And yeah.
Sounds like you're at the forefront of everything that's happening, being in tech and being in like enablement, learning and development, knowledge management, all of the above. How do we make people like more skilled, enabled, so they can do their best work, right? That's the promise, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think staying connected to people, if you need to ask me and if I need to map my skills, my set of skills, I would say like being connected to people and kind of like really connect the dots for people. I would say that's my personal superpower. Like I invest a lot in making sure that I understand what people, that I don't have a gap between what I think people need and what people really need. And I really try to work hard with my team to make sure that we, bring those needs, the accurate needs assessment. And when we release a solution, we want that solution to be, to make the highest impact and to be as close as to possible to what the people in the field really, really needed. So that's where we really invest time, like hear the people, speaking with the people, and experiment it together with them.
Yeah, you seem super enthusiastic about that, and we'll be watching your story. Final question. Looking back where you started, and it wasn't L&D, it was like more nonprofit, it was like different path. What would be a piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Younger self would be maybe make that change sooner, right? We always see better when we look at the past. I think I was doing a lot of learning and education in the public sector and NGOs and a lot of project management. It was very, I think it was very like intuitive. And I think like to younger self, I would say, push yourself towards environments that challenge you more and provide you better, maybe, playground to really uplift yourself and really make a significant growth. I think that's maybe, and again, I'm not sorry. I feel like I've learned so much in my career journey, and now I feel very old saying that. But I feel like I've kind of like taken, different skills and different experiences and different mindsets from every experience. But I would definitely start earlier, crossing sectors, just because I can see, how much we have accomplished in the past 9 years. Like that's incredible. Yeah, that's.
So be curious, be bold, courageous. That's what I heard.
Stay connected, to yourself, to people. Yeah. That's
connected
important.
to your customers, people you make a difference for. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Well, thank you, Einat.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Great to have you here, and we'll be following your journey.
Well, thank you very much, and happy to be here and to talk about what I do, which is always fun.
It's super inspiring. I appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of the Intelligence Amplifiers. If you like what you've heard, be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the future episodes. And if you're interested in being a guest or have a question, check out the episode description for how to reach us. Also, don't forget to check out Plus Plus, the platform that makes collective intelligence at scale possible. Find out more at plusplus.co. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep amplifying.